Tillis.
Thank you, Chair Tester, and thank you, gentlemen, for being here. A couple of questions. I was in here earlier, and one thing that I'm curious about is to what extent does the TAP program emphasize and ensure that we get a connection with the VA upon separation?
Senator, so in the TAP program, one of the specific core courses is a session that's led by the VA.
Yeah, but
so
I mean, we're leading them to water, but we know if you take a look at the number of suicides that occur on average, about 2/3 of the people who commit suicide every day are not connected to the VA. So I know that it's obviously a natural transition because it's a discussion about benefits and everything else. But to what extent does the TAP program remain focused on not only leading them to water, but actually enrolling and become connected? And I'd be also curious, Mr. Sawyer, if you have any observations on that.
Senator, I'll comment just briefly on the particular piece that you mentioned about suicide and suicide prevention. So through that transition process, we conduct a mental health assessment. There's also we're working on this single health assessment with the VA, so that if we identify that a service member may be at risk or has been treated for mental health, then they are referred into the in-transition program, and then that information is shared with VA. So we start that process early, and we're very focused on ensuring that there's continuity of care so that in that transition period, the 365 days
Okay.
following.
Mr. Jacobs, you have anything to add? I'm going to go fast because I got one other point I want to make related to.
We think there's a moral imperative to connect veterans to their earned benefits and health care, because it's exactly to your point. When veterans utilize their earned benefits and health care, they do better. And it's not only in terms of reduced suicide rates, but it's better health outcomes, better economic opportunities. So we have a one-day TAP course. One of the ways that we're enhancing it is by including our VSO, accredited VSO and State Department of Veterans Affairs partners. And that's important because, this is 200 pages of information about VA benefits and health care. It's a lot to digest in one day.
And most people aren't going to.
They're going to come back with more questions, and our VSO partners and state partners can help them as one more
Okay. Mr. Sawyer, you got something to add briefly?
Thank you. I would just like to add that GAO does have ongoing work that's looking at the mental health and suicide prevention for transitioning members, as well as the warm handover process, and we would love to meet with you.
I'm going to make sure I stay within my time, but I do want to go back to something that Chair Reed mentioned about the electronic health record. I've been following. I was on Senate Armed Services till last Congress, following the electronic health record implementation. DOD, good on you all for getting it done. We've got to get it done in the VA. It's a long way from being done. Until those two platforms are completely implemented, we probably need some duct tape and baling wire to get data that we can use to better predict what we should be trying. I've said in this committee before, it will be great when we have a TAP audience of one. We're not there yet. One of the ways that we can get that is through predictive analytics. And one thing that came to my mind is whether or not we should take a look at information that we had in the electronic health record for the service member and see if we could use predictive analytics to say that this person could be in crisis, and sadly correlate that, using historic records, sadly probably correlate that to this veterans population who's committed suicide. And then if you start thinking, if there is a statistical correlation there, then this should begin to be something that's very, very much embedded in future TAP programs. Time's expired. Thank you.